Right along to the first three pack of 2021. There's obviously a typo there. It's not thinks to expect, but it was a rough morning. It's the first that first Monday of the new year, but things to expect in 2021. As I indicated earlier, I'm not an economist. But I am a licensed real estate agent like all of you. And so as I strategize for 2021 and take a look at my business, these are the things that I'm addressing and building strategies around. Number one is I don't think there's going to be any change in inventory in the near future. We've had record lows when it comes down to inventory in 2021. We are not expecting, I haven't read anything, there seems to be any kind of indication that there's going to be a massive influx in properties available on ARMLA. So what we were experiencing, especially the second half of 2020, I would definitely expect, at least for the first half of 2021, but I'm going to say for the most of the year because I think summer is going to be hot again. So I wouldn't expect that. And then California buyers are still relocating here like crazy. I went out to California after Christmas for a couple days, and their governor is crazy. That place, when it comes down to COVID, is crazy, and people are frustrated.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and I'm being in all sincerity, they're frustrated with their state, and they're frustrated with the cost of living. And the second half of 2020, we saw a lot of California buyers here in Arizona. I think it could continue. And then I think with it, Matt, you can even comment. I personally think we're going to see more and more appraisal issues. I think sellers are still trying to get more money for their homes than they're worth. And I think 2020, a lot of agents faced appraisal issues. I think it's going to be pretty bad this year.
Yeah, I think it wasn't as bad as it probably could have been until maybe the last couple of months. I've definitely seen more, but I would suspect as the sellers continue to try to push that market, right, with low inventory, it's only going to push them to push more and more prices higher, and it's hard to validate those in an appraisal. So
yeah, we were working on one deal over the weekend, and appraisal came in $10,000 less than what the purchase contract for was, and so we of course sent the appraisal to the listing agent, and he goes, well, they didn't use the house that I got listed as a comp. And I'm like, well, you can't.
You can't.
So,
You can't use your own listing as a comp. That was a good rebuttal.
Good try.
Good try.
Number two, I think we're going to see more and more buyers really discouraged by home prices. A lot of home prices obviously went up at a very consistent pace in 2020, especially from June on. And and I think last year a lot of it, people were sitting on the fence because they were afraid that the market was going to crash. They saw that the market didn't crash, but now I think they are going to be discouraged by, though, the increase in home prices.
One of the indicators of a crash potentially is mortgage default rates. And even though the tagline is that they've doubled, they went from like the lowest they've been under 3% to like 6%, which is still under the normal over time. So there's not like this mass amount of homes that are going to be potentially flooding the market in a default situation. So
well, that's part of you gotta build the strategy and the scripts to talking. I put scarred, but scared, to scared buyers off the fence. You've got the things like that you said, Matt. You got to listen to what the experts are saying, because I still think there's a lot of people out there still thinking that the market's going to crash, and you have to be able to rebut them.
You do.
And you have to know what to say, and you have to know what's going on in the market. You have to know what the experts are saying.
Right. It's not just what to say, it's when to say it, and it's realizing from a conversation that they're starting to develop some fears or they have some anxiety around a particular point, and it's making sure you say the right thing at the right time.
Yeah. And the third thing is, I think that once the vaccine has been widely distributed, I think people are going to be ready to do things again.
I hope so.
There's a lot of pent-up energy. There's a lot of people want to get out. People
Sure.
want to do things, and so a lot for those of you that relied on open houses and housewarming parties and networking events and things like that. Those that pivoted, succeeded in 2020. But I think as the vaccine is widely distributed, I think things are going to settle down, and I think there's an opportunity because I think people are going to be really excited. So start planning Your housewarming parties. You've got some closings coming up. Take a look at who you closed in 2020. Still offer Thoma housewarming parties. For our group, the Recon group, we're very event oriented, so it was a big change for us in 2020 because we do a lot of networking events. We do a lot of happy hours. We do a lot of things where we're bringing people together.
You can only do so many Zoom happy hours,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's like you really need that face-to-face interaction with some of that stuff.
Yeah, and so I think and that's one of the things that I'm monitoring is when we expect the vaccine to be widely distributed, and then when are people going to be settled down and say, okay, hey, we're ready to go. And so for us, we're planning those things and spending a lot of time strategizing what type of events that we want to have. You may not be doing events with large groups of people, but smaller groups of people. Start thinking about what kind of events and so forth. So that's kind of how I see 2021. And then to what I was asking you earlier, I personally don't, but I wanted to let you comment on it. I'm still expecting low interest rates for at least, well, for the most of the year, if not the entire year.
I think so. I think
at least the first 6 months.
I think the first 6 months, I think it's pretty much sewn in that we're going to have low rates. And as long as rates are in the threes, with that 3 as the first number, I mean, let's throw out the 2s, right? Because that's like, okay, that's really rare. But like even in the low 3s, you're still in a really good position to buy even though prices are going up. If rates stay low, it's not that big an impact on your monthly payment. And so we've done a couple things like that in the past, right? Where you talk about the cost of home ownership and like what that does for interest rates. So I think those are things from my perspective, even if rates stay in the low 3s, you're still in a really good place.
All righty. So that's our 3-pack. So moving right along.